Howdy, folks. Welcome back to the Dusty Trails and Tall Tales podcast. I'm your host, Matthew, and today we're riding into the world of Western publishing with one of the most influential figures keeping the genre alive and thriving, Nick Wale.
It's nice to meet you, Matthew. How you doing?
I'm pretty good, sir. How are you?
Oh, I'm terrific. I'm terrific, and thank you for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Sure. Well, tell us first a little bit about your background and how you got started in book promotion.
Well, I started off leaving school. I didn't have any real formal education. I went and worked at the sales office. I worked for a very good salesman in my locality, and I learned how to be a salesman. I was working as his executive assistant. And he decided he wanted to go out of business. He'd made all the money he wanted, and he said to me, "You're unemployed." So I was unemployed, and I was started to look around for other opportunities. I met some authors, and lo and behold, one of them said to me, "Can you promote a book the way you can sell leads?" I said, "Sure, I'll give it a try. What else have I got to do?" So we looked at this book. It was a thriller. It was nothing to do with westerns at all. I mean, it was nothing at all to do with westerns. And we went out there. I looked at Amazon. I looked at the way things were set up on Amazon at this time. This was, 15 years ago now. And I got to work promoting it. We started building mailing lists and doing SEO and different things like that. And we made a big success out of it. And he said, "Well, I guess you're in the book business now." I said, "Oh, I don't know about that. I want to go back to the sales office. I like getting people on the phone. But lo and behold, his friends all wanted to be promoted as well. He had all these friends. So I was working on thrillers. I worked on all kinds of books. And one day, a Canadian guy came to me and he says, "I've written a Western." And I said, "Oh boy, you have?" And he says, "Yeah." He says, "I've written a Western." And I said, "Well," I said, "that's good." He said to me, "Do you think you can sell it?" I said, "Nope." He said, "What do you mean,
Oh,
no?" I said, "No, I can't sell it." I said, "I can't sell it." He says, "I'll tell you what, if you can sell it, I bet you can sell it. I know you can sell it. Go ahead and do your thing and try and sell it." So I went ahead and I gave it a try, and the thing went to #1 on Amazon. And after that, he said, "I know loads of Western authors who don't sell any books at all, and you can sell them. Do you want me to bring my friends over?" So I said, "Sure." So then I became the guy with Westerns. I was selling Westerns. We had a lot of bestsellers with them. Other authors from other genres wanted to write Westerns, and we were building a very strong reputation. And then one day, a bunch of my authors came to me and said, "Well, we don't want to be indie published anymore. We want a publishing company. What can you do about it, boy?" And I said, I don't want to run a publishing company. That's not for me." And they said, "Look, we're going to write the books. You run the company. That's what we're going to do." So I ended up running a publishing company. We called it Dusty Saddle. It went into business. We started doing, some releases every month. It started to do well. It became profitable, and we got ourselves a good CFO called Bruce Bennett, and we went ahead and we started building this company. Now, I didn't really want to be in publishing. I wanted to go back to the sales business and sell people on the phone. That's exciting to me. But there I was in the Western business, and it became just like the sales business. We sell product, we meet with our readers, we meet with our authors, and it's just a constant growing business. And over time, it's just become bigger and bigger and bigger. And now we're sitting at 2025. It's probably the largest in the business.
yeah, for sure. One of the largest I've seen.
Thank
Um,
you.
well, what's the biggest lesson you've learned so far with Dusty Saddles as far as promotion?
Well, the number one thing is exactly what I was taught when I was 17 years old. My boss said to me, "Don't do anything if you haven't spoken to the people you're selling things to. Don't presume, don't wish, don't try and change their minds." He said, "Get on the phone with the people who are buying what you're selling and find out what they want." And that's the number one the number one lesson in business. Find out what the readers want and then give them what they want. Right? You can't go wrong
Yeah,
giving people what they want. So the number one lesson is never to veer away from public opinion. You know, get your readers on the phone, find out what they want, deliver what they want. Don't worry about anything else. And that's the number one lesson, because every time we veered away from public opinion or from what people actually want, we've fallen on our backsides. So we always stick with getting the readers on the phone, finding out what they're after, delivering what they want, and doing it time and time again. That builds good consumer trust.
well, what is it that the readers want?
They want good traditional Western stories. They want to read in book form the nostalgia of what they were watching in the 1950s and 1960s. The same people who are buying our books are the same people watching Gunsmoke on reruns every day of the week. There's a
Yeah.
Gunsmoke page on Facebook, and every day
Yeah.
we watch and discuss the episodes. What's Jim Arnez doing today, right? Those same people buy our books. They buy the books. So the readers just want to be given a good traditional Western adventure. No thrills, no frills, no politics. They just want a good story.
Yeah. Well, what makes Dusty Saddles different than other Western publishers?
I think Dusty Saddles, well, I think that before Dusty Saddles came along, the Western business didn't really have many publishers, and
Yeah.
they certainly didn't invest a lot of time and effort into promotion. I think before we came along, the Western was kind of this thing that was kind of forgotten in the corner. There were a couple of companies doing quite well, but majority of the Western authors are independent. So I think what Dusty Saddle is a reaffirmation of faith in the Western itself. I think what Dusty Saddle does is it actually takes an author, promotes them, sells them, develops them as a brand, looks after them, puts them on the market, makes sure that their career is looked after while they're on the market, sells them, markets, and keeps them selling. And I think that's something that's missing in the publishing business as a whole. It's like when you used to be an author 50 years ago, your company would look after you, they'd promote you, they'd push you, they'd edit you, they'd do everything for you. Dusty Saddle does all that. So it's not what makes Dusty Saddle different. It's what publishing should be. It should be what it
Yeah.
was in the past. It should be a company that promotes heavily, pushes books, tries to get you in the right direction when it comes to giving what the readers want, putting you in the right direction for marketing. Behind you all the way. That's what Dusty Saddle's a throwback.
Yeah. That's quite refreshing to hear because most publishers nowadays, promotion is left entirely up to the author.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's the saddest thing because an author should be writing. The
Yeah.
company should be promoting the books. That's what the company's there for. And I don't mean some little Facebook post or some little email. I
Yeah.
actually think that they should be doing all the marketing they can do. Dusty Saddle, it's Facebook, it's Amazon advertising, it's mailing lists, it's podcasts, it's you name it, endorsements, it's anything you can think of that we can find. TikTok. We were the first ones in the business to really get into TikTok. We were the first ones to give authors their own promoters. We hired people to take care of promotion for authors, so every author had a contact. Making sure the social media coverage is strong. I mean, all of these things that used to be just normal business in the publishing business and the record business have been brought back to center.
Wow. Well, one thing I've noticed you do that I haven't seen much anywhere before is you have like multiple author works. What's the strategy behind that?
Well, I was on the phone with a lady in Texas, and she said, I would love to see a book written between one author and another author because I love this character and I love that character, but I only have the money to buy one book.
Hmm.
So I went back to the authors and I said, well, this lady would like this. And the author said, well, we can do that. Casey Nash said to me, I can do that. I can do that. And the other author said, yeah, I can do that. And so they got together. They started writing them together. And what we found was it just combines two fan bases and allows authors to mix readers and fan bases and characters. And it gives the reader a better opportunity to discover different characters perhaps they haven't read and an old favorite. And we found that it's beautiful marketing because readers love events. And that's one thing the Western business did not have was events. A collaboration between 2 or 3 authors is an event. We've got one in the charts right now, Long Trail to Justice. Now that's got Scott McCrae, brilliant
Hmm.
author, brilliant author. Casey Nash, brilliant author. Robert Hanlon, one of the benchmarks of DSP, all together in one book. If I was a
Yeah.
reader and I saw that, I'd say, well, why do I want to settle for one author when I can have 3? you
Yeah.
know and we've got a five authors collaborating coming out in November, and that's been a real interesting thing. And again, we're just trying to give readers the best they can get for for their book.
Oh. Well, how does that work? Do you have like an outline and each writer contributes a few chapters or?
They have an outline, so they work very strongly from an outline, and they literally get on the phone and hammer out who is writing what, and it's very well
Hmm.
organized. Western authors are the greatest for organization because they really understand how. Most of them are professionals. They come from professional backgrounds, so they understand their time. So if you get Casey Nash and Hanlon and Scotty McRae on the phone, they will hammer it out between them, and they'll go, "You're doing this chapter, you're doing this chapter, you're doing this chapter," and they will turn it in on deadline. You don't have to chase. You don't have to. There's no fighting. They
Yeah.
just work so efficiently, and they're so used to the DSP system, which is all of these different projects, and there's so many projects being juggled at any one time. As the question down there, I'll answer that question in a second.
Yeah.
That they're just so efficient. So a lot of it's down to the efficiency of the authors getting together and saying, "You're doing that, you're doing that, and you're doing that, and you're doing that," and then they stay in their lane.
Yeah. Do you want to take a question from the audience? We have one from Mike.
Absolutely, I'll take them.
All right.
Let's see. How do I manage juggling multiple projects at the same time, especially with tight deadlines? Well, I have a great assistant. You see, I have this great assistant called Abigail, and I have a second assistant called Jersey, and both of them are. Well, Abigail, I mean, people think I'm good at my job, but Abigail is this organizational wonder. I mean, she can fill the calendar and find time and nooks and crannies and everything else, and still fit my lunch hour in there. So I put it down to her. She's so good at micromanaging my calendar and making sure I'm where I'm supposed to be that I could probably take on more than I'm doing right now. I mean, she does allow me some time for little breaks and stuff, but I would say it's important to have a really good assistant who understands micromanaging a calendar and making sure I'm in the right place at the right time. The meeting notes have to be strong so that they can be looked over, and also having a very good team. For instance, our social media lady, Tashi, fantastic. I only have to meet with her once a week. She already knows what I want before I even wake up in the morning.
Yeah.
So I'm very lucky. I'm very blessed that I can juggle them through having a great team and also strong work ethic. I was brought up as a field worker's boy, so I used to work in the fields alongside my daddy. And you start work, you go to work, and you don't stop till you finish in that line of work, and that's how I've always been. I hope that answers your question, Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, hire good people. That's exactly right, Mike. Hire good people.
Yeah. Leroy Peters says hello. How are you
Oh,
doing?
hello, Leroy. Leroy is a great author. I mean, Leroy is this wonderful author who wrote these great Mountain Men books and was ignored for so long. And he's he's talented. And he was ignored for so long. And he came to me at DSP and he says, and he wanted to work with us and we took him. And his books sell like crazy. It's just an amazing thing. He's one of those great discoverers and he really is one of the best going. I mean, he really is a top
Yeah.
talent and he's so good for the company.
How do you discover new writers, given as many of them as you have published?
Well, there's a couple of ways. One is I get a lot of submissions through email and I read them and I meet the authors. For me, when I get a submission, I actually want to meet the author more than know what the story's about because I like to know the person I'm doing. Well, Harvey Wood, yes, Harvey Wood found Leroy. I actually want to read these submissions and then meet the author. And the real thing you're really looking for is an author who really can get down to the business of writing a book and has ideas. You want lots of ideas because at DSP we do these long series, right? And when you meet an author and they're filled with ideas and they can say, I can get, I can get that done, I can get that done, I can get that done. You've got a good author, and then you can put together a series and you go. So I have a look at our submissions really closely. Sometimes authors are suggested to me through agents. DSP works with a lot of talent scouts and things like that to find talent. Sometimes I find books that are self-published that I want to work with. We're always looking for new talent, and we always want authors who can produce what our readers want. You've got to give the readers what they want, and the authors know that. So I look everywhere I can for authors.
Well, since Dusty Styles is so good at promoting, what's one mistake you've seen authors make when promoting their own work?
I think the biggest mistake is that they don't get to work on another book. You see, an author will write one book, and then they'll put it on the market, and then it's on the market, and then they go and buy a bunch of Twitter advertising, or they spend a lot of money, and the readers don't buy it. And the book then sits there, and the author's very upset with themselves because they didn't get what they needed. The actual key to it is write more books.
Yeah.
The more books you write, the more opportunities there are to be found. if a, I for instance take Paul Thompson. It was book 52 of his that took off. He'd done 52 books, and he said, "Well, I don't really write for money. I write for the pleasure of it." But he had a big smile on his face when book 52 went to number one. You
Yeah.
know,
Right.
and it's all about writing more stories, because with the Western business, you have to continue to um, keep going, write new stories, try to reach those readers, keep producing, keep producing, keep producing. And what we will find is that somewhere down the line, something will take off, and then every book you've ever written will take off. And
Yeah.
that's why you have these authors with vast catalogs all selling really well, because they've written 100 books, none of them sold, 101 took off, and all of a sudden, big bestseller.
Yeah. Why do you think the Western continues to resonate with readers in today's society?
Because I think people are looking for a return to simpler times, and I think they find refuge in a story that is just a story. It's fictional, it's fun, it's enjoyable. They can relate to it. It's a simple time. It's a simple time in their um, in their minds. I think that it's just a wholesome time. It's a time without a lot of confusion, or without a lot of um, trying to think of the word. It was a very uncomplex time. It was very uncomplicated. People enjoy going back to the uncomplicated times, and of course, westerns resonate with everybody's childhood. Don't they?
Yeah.
Because everybody watched the western. Either Roy Rogers or John Wayne or whoever you want to come up with, Randolph Scott or whoever, Clint Eastwood. Everybody remembers westerns from childhood, or their grandparents watching westerns and everything else. So I think it'll continue to resonate as long as they're, it's an integral part of American culture, and also culture around the world, Australia, England, because everybody remembers it from childhood. It's like any other warm memory from childhood.
Yeah. But what are some of your favorite classic westerns, either book or film?
Oh, Unforgiven, Burt Lancaster and Audie Murphy, very good movie.
Mhm.
Magnificent Seven for sure. I liked, actually, anything with Audie Murphy in it. I loved. So, No Name on the Bullet, fantastic, fantastic, fantastic film. I mean, you don't know till the end who he's after, right? It's the ultimate
Yeah.
in Western storytelling. And Randolph Scott, Ride the High Country, really good. I loved Western movies as a kid, and it's a funny business, because when I was a kid as well, I wanted to learn to read, so I went down to the library, and there were these westerns. They were in the library on a stand, and you
Yeah.
take them back and you learn to read with them, and they're fantastic stories. I mean, they're simple stories, but they're very enjoyable. And a great western is like nothing else. I mean, look at the stuff that look at some of the great western stories, that came out, like Louis L'Amour. I mean, you can't put them down when you start them.
Yeah. I found Louis L'Amour in the library when I was a teenager, and I would check out every book they had and read them all in a week and go back for more.
And I bet now the West is so ingrained in you that every time you think about it, it's a warm memory.
Yes, sir.
It is. It's same here. I mean, same here. Every time I think about Western movies, The Alamo, or it just makes me think of Sunday afternoons and warm days. Although in England, warm days aren't too often, aren't too frequent.
Yeah. But what themes in westerns do you find the most enduring?
I think that Law and Order. I think it's Law and Order. The lawman who's trying to bring order to the state. Take a look at a lot of the big DSP hits. You've got Robert Hanlon and Timber, big selling series. Timber's always bringing law and order back to things. He's always trying to do what's right. He's not a particularly nice guy while he's doing it, but he's always trying to do what's right. And you look at the Wayne Winkle books, same thing. Always law and order. It's never completely black and white, but it's always, doing the right thing, trying to do something for society, trying to clean up this gang or keep this town safe. So I think law and order and right and wrong are integral to the Western business.
Yeah. Well, I noticed recently that Dusty Saddles has expanded into audiobooks.
We have the goal of getting all of our books made into audiobooks by the end of the year, and it's coming along very well. We are really proud of the product as well. You see, that's an interesting one for you, because I was meeting with a lot of these audiobook production companies, but I didn't like it because these are companies that don't understand the Western. So I said to myself, well, if we're going to do it, if it's going to be, it's up to me, right? So
Yeah.
I got on the phone and I asked readers. I said, do you want audiobooks? And they said, yeah, my grandmother loves audiobooks. My grandfather loves audiobooks. My father loves audiobooks. I said, okay, so we'll do them. So we took some test titles and we put them out, and they're selling very well. So it was, to me, it was another situation where you have to give the reader what they want, and they wanted audiobooks.
Yeah. Are there any specific audiobooks releases coming up that you're particularly excited about?
We have hundreds of them, but the big one is Caleb's Journey by Lane R. Warensky. Now, Lane was a massive signing for DSP. He came over to DSP, and we put one of the biggest advertising campaigns into action of any Western
Yeah.
done in years. I mean, it was massive. I mean, people were calling me saying, "Please, please, I see it every day. I see it every day. I know he's coming. I know he's coming. I know he's coming." And it was one of the biggest campaigns. And this audiobook has so many people waiting for it. I mean, there are so many people who email daily wanting this audiobook of Caleb's Journey. We had to find the voice. We had to make sure that we get it recorded. It's almost done. I'm very excited about it because his book was a huge. He is an absolute genius when it comes to writing as well. I mean, he's really a legend, and that one's very exciting for me.
Yeah, I recently discovered his work, and it reminds me a lot of Louis L'Amour, which was quite interesting because
That's a breed of author that we won't get again. That level of workmanship is a breed we won't get again.
But do you see the audiobooks as a way to attract a new generation of readers, maybe, or is it just something you've decided to expand into?
I think that it's a way of giving consumers more choice. And I think choices are good. I mean, if you on the phone with a reader and a reader tells you they want something, and the next reader tells you they want it, and the next reader tells you they want it, then it's a good thing for consumers to have choice. I don't know if it'll bring in youth readers. I mean, I hear about youth markets all the time when I'm in meetings. They say, oh, the youth market, the youth market, the youth market. I don't worry about the youth market anymore. I worry about pleasing the people that we have buying books every day, giving them as much choice as possible. That's why we have the Daily Drops program, which is 3 new Westerns a day. We want to give readers the greatest possible choice when it comes to buying Westerns. We want to reach as many readers as possible. We want to please the people who've been fans for years. Younger readers, I think, are very important, but I also think there's a massive problem, especially in the corporate world, of forgetting that there are millions of people who have been fans of something for years, and you have to take those people and cherish them because they are the base. They are the solid base for any company, and so we really look after the people that buy our books and the fans for years and the people who love the books. And if we get the youth market later, we'll get it. That'll be great. But I like the readers we have already because they're real nice when you get on the phone and they tell you what they think, and they trusted you enough to tell you. I like this one. I didn't like that one.
Yeah. Where do you see Dusty Saddles heading in the next few years?
Well, the growth at the rate we're growing, I think that we will be expanding pretty quickly. I think audiobooks will be a big part of that. I also think that we're going to be signing a lot of new authors. We have a 23 new authors we're launching later this year. I also think we're going to move into the movie business as well eventually once we've got the right setup for that. But I think mostly, it's just going to keep growing, giving readers good stories, sticking to that base. That base is the thing. Keep pleasing the base. Keep pleasing the base. Keep people entertained. Keep them happy. If I get on the phone and they tell me they're not happy, then that will be the worst thing in the world for me because that's my number one goal is to make sure our readers sitting at home, totally, interested in our product and supportive of the company, are continue to be supportive and continue to be interested in the company.
Yeah, that's actually one of my next questions was if you were going to expand into movies because that's quite an interesting prospect because one of the biggest things people I've found complain about is there are no new Western movies coming out.
Well, that's the
that
thing,
are
isn't it?
actually as good as they used to be.
Well, that's right. I mean, I'm very pleased that they're still making Western movies, but they're not the same as they used to be. I mean, I don't care what anybody says. They do not have that same level of excitement because they don't have the money behind them that they used to have behind them, perhaps, or the thought process, or the writing. Now, if you take one of the DSP authors, take Randall Dale, for instance. Now, he's an acclaimed award winner. He writes some of the best work in the business. He's been number one. We've just revitalized him. He's got a new series, Cyrus Boone. He's probably one of the best in the business. Now imagine what he could do with a movie. Or take Casey Nash, for instance, he just turned out Cattle Killers, which is a big, big Western. And it's doing really well for him. And it's beautifully written. And it's beautiful product. Imagine if that were a movie. Or how about, I don't know, Ron Ashmore. Ronnie Ashmore was one of the best Western authors going. He was completely neglected for years. He came over to me. He said, "Can you make me a hit?" I said, "Sure." I said, "We need to do a Texas series, a series in Texas. He's a policeman down in Texas." I said, "We need to work on what you know. You know, Law and Order." Puts the series together, goes out there, sells like crazy. Or how about Leroy down there for a Mountain Man series? Or I mean, I think there's so much talent at DSP that would make great Western movies just like people remember them.
Yeah. Lane Lorinsky series would be a good one too.
Oh, yeah. Caleb's Journey would make a great motion picture, don't you think?
Yeah.
That's a great book. That is one of the best going, in my opinion. It's really, he deserves every accolade he gets because he really is just out of this world.
Yeah. Well, what would you say your proudest moment is since you've been with Dusty Saddles as far as professional?
Well, Matt, I'd like to answer this. I'll answer that question, but I'd like to answer this one. What is an example of a difficult or challenging situation, if that's okay with you?
Sure, go ahead. I'll bring it up on the screen.
Okay, so what's an example of a difficult or challenging situation you faced in a publishing role, and how did you successfully get through it? I think every day in this business, you're in a challenging situation. I mean, you're dealing with hundreds of people, you're dealing with hundreds of projects, and I think that there's a tendency in the Western business or the publishing business as a whole for people to get overwhelmed. And I think it's really important to have a bigger goal in mind. Now, for instance, for me, as I've said so many times, I want to please the base. I want to make sure that the people who buy our books day in, day out, day out, day in are happy. So I focus on that. I think that the challenging part of the business is being inundated day in and day out with problems and issues and queries, and I think that the way you overcome that is by focusing on something that's really important to the company, like readers. So,
Yeah,
how does this problem I've got here work for readers? Well, if the readers don't like this book, then we have to do something about it. If the readers don't like the language in this book, we have to do something about it. If the readers, if the readers want this, then we have to fix that and make sure they have that. I mean, it's all about the readers. So I think that the problem is when people are pulled in too many directions at once, and I think the answer to that is to focus on something that really matters to the company, matters to people, and focusing on people. That's how I would say about that.
yeah.
And your other question was, of course, about my proudest achievement, right?
Yes, sir.
The people I've got working with me. I mean, I picked everybody who works at TSP myself. They're incredibly talented. They would be embarrassed by me telling you this, but they're incredibly talented. And I wanted the best people going because when I went into the sales office, 17, my boss said to me, he said, "You can be a great salesman, but you're no good unless you've got good people working for you." And he says, "Now you're a young guy, and I don't know if you're any good or not, but I'll know in 2 weeks." And I didn't get fired after 2 weeks, so I knew I was pretty good. And my proudest thing is that every week, we have a team at DSP that comes out and does their very best and has impact in the Western business. And look at our social media Tashi. That was the biggest campaign ever run for a Western advertising wise in the business. Now,
Yeah,
how can you not be proud of that? Or look at Abigail. I mean, Abigail is dealing with hundreds of projects per day, and she's 21 years of age. I mean, or take Jersey, or take Shelley to other ladies. I mean, they're busy, and they work hard, and they're proud of the company, and they feel they're doing something. And I don't
yeah,
see that happening in companies a lot around the world anymore. People aren't proud to go to work. They want to stay at home, or they want to do this, or they want to do that. They feel overworked. So I'm very proud of the people I work with. I'm proud of the authors, and I'm proud of the people that I hired for DSP.
yeah. How do you manage to stay so motivated and inspired with such a busy schedule?
I love it. I mean, from the age of 17, I was in an office where I was on the phone 24 hours a day, and I love work. And I used to love it. I love being on the phone. I love being in the deals. I love being. I mean, I love it. I love it. If I have time off, I am bored. I mean, I do not like sitting around lounging around. I mean, I was told I went on vacation like 2 years ago, and I was so bored I didn't know what to do with myself. So I started talking to the guy next to me in the cinema about writing a western for DSP. And before I knew it, I got this guy interested, and I'm sitting there thinking, well, why am I bothering to have time off if I love work? I love it, and it's so and you get on the phone with the readers, and you get on the phone with the people working with you and the editors. I mean, we've got to, I mean, you have to be self motivated, but you have to love what you're doing, and I love it. Who wouldn't love it?
Yeah, really. Well, what advice would you give to someone looking to break into Western publishing and become an author?
I would advise them to watch Gunsmoke and watch Bonanza, and I would tell them that that's what people are still watching every day. Really, they're watching these serials, our audience, and I would tell them to really take a look at the way those things are written. I was on the phone with an author called Gary Diamond a few weeks ago, and he said to me, "I watch Bonanza every day, and some of those stories are incredible. They tell a story in 15 minutes, and they get it completed, and you like the characters, you know the guest stars." And he said to me, he said, "That's the Western to me." And I said, "You're right, you know." So I would say, look at the series. I mean, okay, they're a little bit hokey now, but at the end of the day, they were so popular at the time, and they're what people remember. So watch what was popular, and try and write that same kind of level of writing. Don't go down the route of, bad language, or bringing politics into it. Just write entertaining stories for people and let them enjoy it. And when they're on side with you, keep giving them what they want. And once you do
Yeah,
that, you're going to be number one.
yeah,
J.W. Masterson. Now, there's a guy. Now, J.W. Masterson was a guy I've known for years. He was with several publishing companies, never could sell a book. He came to me and says, "What's wrong with my writing?" I said, "There's nothing wrong with your writing." I said, "There's nothing wrong with it." He says, "Well, why doesn't it sell?" I said, "Because you write a new book each time. Every book is a new series." I said, "You don't just stick with something and give people something to get their teeth into." So he said, "Okay, I'll write 7 books for you. They're all going to be a series. If they're going to be a success, it's going to be a success with you." I said, "Okay." So he puts them out now. He's got all of his books in the top 100. He's in real good shape. And it's the same with Robert Hanlon. He writes a new book every month. He keeps to the formula. And it's the same thing for any author. Stick to what people want.
yeah. Well, since you do the collaborations, if you could create a collaboration with classic Western authors, which ones would you pick?
Louis L'Amour for sure. Can you
Yeah,
imagine? That would be a classy one.
yeah,
I think Louis L'Amour and John Stone. Can you imagine those two doing a Mountain Man series where two mountain men are trying to kill each other, going through the
yeah,
mountains with them battling it out, and at the end you don't know who's won because perhaps there's a big dust cloud, and you don't know what's happening. But those two would be monsters working together. I mean, they're just amazing.
yeah. Well, what's one book from Dusty Saddles that everyone should read right now?
Well, I'm biased, of course. I'm really biased, but um, Cattle Killers by Casey Nash, really good book, really really high quality book. And I'm gonna give you more than one because I'm a ham. So
Yeah,
I would say Cattle Killers. I would say that the Flint series by McCrae is really good. I would say that, but the one that I really like, and the one I'm going to tell you about, is the new Cyrus Boone series by Randall Dale. Now, Randall Dale, I told you, he was big. He went out of the business for a while. He came back. He said, "Can you make me sell again?" I said, "Sure, I can make you sell again, Randall." He's worked at it. He's worked this Cyrus Boone book. It's on pre-order right now, and that thing is just out of. It's a great, great, great action story.
yeah. What's a favorite quote from a Western novel or a movie that you really like?
Oh, fill your hands, you son of a bitch. It's how I always think about everything, because I always think everything has to be faced dead on. You
Yeah,
run in there and bash the hell out of something till it works. And so, "Fill your hands, you son of a bitch," is the number one as far as I'm concerned. because you
Yeah.
have to face everything head on and just whack through it. I mean, you can't be timid. This isn't the world for timid souls and trembling people. I mean, it isn't. I mean, you've got to go out there and shake it around and get something going on. And if you can go in there and you just bulldoze through, you'll come out the other side okay. If you start getting nervous in the middle of it, not going to get anywhere.
Well, is there a genre outside of westerns that you'd want to work in, or is it you strictly with westerns?
No, I like westerns. I mean, DSP dabbles in other stuff. We have other departments that are run by different people, and I don't really, I look at what's going on over there and I look at it. But no, westerns are for me. I was given the opportunity to work in the western business, and I don't believe in changing horses midstream. If, for instance, why would I want to leave the greatest readership in the world in a company that's growing to be the biggest in the genre, or may
Yeah.
even, as we stand, be the biggest in the genre? Um, why would I want to leave that and do anything else? No, it's too much fun. Too much
Yeah.
fun.
Well, what's next for you personally? What do you have? What new projects are coming up?
Well, I just finished signing a new round of authors, so that's completed. The audiobook company's taken off in a big way. We've got new releases. I mean, we're doing our 3 new releases a day of westerns to keep up with demand. So I'm gonna be busy with that. I got, just as we're sitting on here, I got 75 emails to answer. So for me, continuing, number one rule: continue to get on the phone with the readers, find out what the readers want, and continue to give them exactly what they want, and to continue to find out what they want next. DSP has a policy. We like to have 30 books in the Western Top 100 at any given time. And people might
Wow.
say, well, that's a bit timid. Why not 100? Well, the reason why is because the other 70 I like to look at and say, well, readers are buying. This is new. This is different. This is
Yeah.
different. So I can find out what the trends are. So 30, 70, we call it. 70 randoms and 30 DSP. And it works really well because I get to see all the trends. Then I go on the phone and I say, what do you think about this or that or the other? And the author says, oh, I like that. I like that. I like that. I think that DSP has one of the closest relationships with its authors of any company I've ever seen. I mean, the authors believe in the company believes in the authors, and I think they work together very well. And I could get any of our authors on the phone right now and have a conversation with them, and we could get a project rolling within 10 minutes.
Wow. Well, how do you go about providing feedback to an author? Do you have to do many rejections?
Well, like I just said, fill your hands, you son of a bitch, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I just rush straight in and tell them what I think. I mean,
Yeah.
I just say to them, you're a good writer. This isn't going to sell.
Yeah.
This is a good book. Let's do something that sells. I like to be very blunt about what I'm doing, and I don't waste a lot of time with it. And some people like me, some people hate me. But I like to tell people exactly what I think about the things they're doing. And you know what? The authors who do really well are very blunt too. Now, take Dave P. Fisher. Now, Dave P. Fisher is the most straightforward guy you'll ever do business with. Dave and I will get on the phone and he'll say, I don't want that, but I want to do this. And I'd say, okay, that works. We'll do that. You never have to worry about it. He just knows what he's doing. And every time he puts a new book out, it goes to number one. And he don't spend hours emailing with little problems because he's always busy on his next book because he already said what he wanted. And
Yeah.
people tell you what they want. If you ask them, they will tell you. If I say to you, Matt, do you like doing a podcast?
Sure.
Yeah. See, you'll tell me the answer. The
Yeah.
problem is there aren't enough questions asked in the world. People don't want to ask the question. Are you happy? Are you unhappy? Are you sad? Do you like this? Do you not like this? So I take the approach of just telling people what I think.
Yeah. That seems pretty good. So the biggest advice you have for writers is just write and let Dusty Saddles do the promotion.
Actually, that's very good advice, I think, because that's the way it should be. Don't you think every company in our business should do that?
Yes, sir. It's
I mean,
quite
this is
refreshing to hear that.
when I got into this business, Western publishing companies were losing money every year. Now, how can they say they're losing money every year if they're not trying to sell the things that they're losing money on? And
Yeah.
that's what it was. I was on the phone with a Western guy. He says, oh, there's no sales in Westerns. I'm going to sell my company. I said, why don't you turn it around? Why don't you sell some books for a change? Oh, nobody wants to
Yeah.
buy them. Rubbish. That is the biggest advice, right? And let Dusty Saddle sell your books, and you do what you're good at. We sell, you write.
Yeah. All right.
Now, let me ask you a question though. Tell me about your books because you've got a bunch of books on the market, and I'd like to know about them because I'm tired of talking about myself. So you tell me about your
Yeah.
stuff. Let's see them.
Well, my book is a Western novella that I've published, self-published a few years ago, and it's a main character is an anti-hero, and he's actually an outlaw. And most series now are lawmen, and so probably one of the biggest influences for me, other than Louis L'Amour, was watching Clint Eastwood's Unforgiven, and the ending of that movie just was so drastically different from most westerns that it was just like eye opening. And so that was really a big inspiration for me creating that character. And so like I've published two short story collections as well, and most of the stories are all the same character. There's just different situations he's in, and so that's basically what it's about. This is an outlaw, sort of like a Robin Hood type, but that's pretty much what the story is about.
Sounds like a big hit to me. I mean, it's right where the readers are. It's the Robin Hood of the range, isn't it? I
Yeah,
mean, it's a good series, good solid Western series, and I bet you if you kept writing them, they would take off, and you'd sell very well because that's right in line.
yeah,
But I have to answer this question here. Can you
okay,
put this one up on the screen? This one is Nick. Are there any other ways besides? Do you have that one?
yeah. Here it
Uh,
is.
All right, Nick, are there any other ways besides on the phone with authors on how you stay up to date on industry trends and changes in publishing? Are there newsletters, special contacts, online forums? Actually, no. For the Western business, there aren't a lot of these things. It's part of the problem. There aren't a lot of situations where a lot of information is made readily available. What I have to do is I have, in my at DSP, I have a couple of analysts who put together the trends for me every week and I look at them. So they'll go look what's selling on Amazon, what's getting reviews, what's getting good reviews, what's getting bad reviews. I mean, DSP has a pretty good intel network in that regard, and I have to have it compiled because there is no company that provides that information, and I would love it, but I had to build it myself, and it's really a shame because um, there are a lot of people on Facebook or social media promoting their books, but there aren't a lot of people actually giving you the guidance. There's a lot of dated stuff like paperbacks or what sells, but there
Yeah,
isn't a lot of I mean, for instance, the Kindle revolution has been completely ignored by the Western business. They still they oh, the Western's dead because the Kindle nobody buys anything on Kindle. Actually, the research is that the majority of our readers are buying on Kindle because their kids get them Kindle readers for Christmas, so they buy on Kindle. You know,
yeah,
they've learned how to use Kindle. So no, it's a shame. There should be, and there should be more information on industry trends. I literally have to have it analyzed and put together by like people, but it creates jobs, so that's a good thing. In a world where everything's becoming AI, I am very pleased to work with real people, and it's something I'm most proud about because I think over the next 20 years, the AI thing is going to really, really um, damage the publishing business. It's going to damage the editing side of things and assistants and everything else. And it's one of those things where it's a shame because people in the workplace are it's a wonderful thing. You get all kinds of creativity and hard work. I don't like the AI revolution at all.
yeah. A lot of people don't, but I mean, it's pretty much coming whether you want it to or not. It seems like.
It is, and already in our business, the AI thing's already becoming big because it's cheap.
Yeah,
It's cheap, isn't it? I've had the same cover designer for 10 years, and my cover designer is a guy called Kevin Diamond, and he is genius when it comes to covers. And he said to me a note. He said, "Are you going to replace me with AI?" I said, "I'm never replacing you with AI. You are working for me until AI replaces me." I said, "Because he's got these iconic covers, blue skies. He's the guy who came up with most of the modern selling designs.
yeah,
What? But now you see it all over the place. AI, and people are doing AI audiobooks, and they're doing AI this and AI that and everything else, and it's nonsense. But I'm going to get shut down for saying that because, of course, there's a lot of people who love AI because it makes it real cheap. But DSP is not a
Yeah.
company that's worried about spending money. DSP is a company that wants to sell product and please readers. And I
Yeah.
don't think a reader cares about an AI voice reading their book.
Yeah. Where do you see the Western genre going in the next few years in general?
Well, in my opinion, the Western genre itself is going to do this great. Um, a lot of what we now know as the Western business won't exist. Like the organizations, I think they're going to slowly die out because they're very focused on the past. What I'd like to see is a couple more Western publishing companies pop up in the Western business, focused on readers and giving more books to readers with new
Yeah.
ideas and invigorating ideas. I'd like to see some young entrepreneurs come into our business and say, we're going to sell Westerns to the good folks who want to read them. And I'd
Yeah.
like to see a really competitive business take place where you've got people really competing and finding different niches and pushing the Westerns to a wider readership. That's what I'd like. Instead of this, the stagnant thing we saw over the last 20 years. And DSP, of course, brought a lot of life back to the Western. But I'd like to see a lot more competition. Companies fighting over authors. It
Yeah.
shouldn't just be. You should. Why is an author? Why can't an author be like what an author's value should be dictated by how much three companies, like the record business, how much the three companies want it. You
Yeah.
know, and then of course that gives the author a better deal. Competitive, competitive, competitive. We want more publishers. We want more artists. We want more authors. We want more of everything. And that's what I hope for the future. And I think that'll happen. I think some smart people will sit down and say, well, Western business, it's still a business. And I want to bring in, and I want to go in there and play in that arena. And I think if they do, I'd be very pleased. And
Yeah.
I don't like this whole idea of the Western business is declining and it's all for old people. No, it's for anybody who wants to get involved in it, and let's get involved in it. Let's sell some books. Let's get some business happening. The more companies they are, the more you'll be able to get the movies involved. You know,
Yeah.
and let's forget about what's going on in New York. Let's look at what's going on here with our readers. They want to buy the product. Let's get competitive. Let's keep selling them the product. Let's give them great stories. Let's keep them happy. That's what I
Yeah.
think. Take it for what it's worth.
Yeah. So what kind of stories in the Western genre are selling the best right now? The
I would say
Mountaineer.
Mountain Men are doing really well. Texas Marshals are doing really well. Mountain Men are still very popular. Ranching stories, strangely enough. Now, ranching stories, Texas ranching, very popular. We just had a big series a couple of years ago, Gone to Texas. Big, big series. Gary Diamond, Seaway and Winkle. Very big series. And that did really well. Ranching, we're going to do more ranching stories. There's more of these Texas Marshall stories. They're very popular. Look at you, Ashmore
Yeah.
selling them. You've got Robert Hanlon selling them. You've got Nash selling them. You've got Randall Dale selling them. Gunslingers. Absolutely. It's the same traditional good entertainment that people have always enjoyed.
Yeah. Well, before we go, what's something that you want our viewers to know, even writers to know about Dusty Saddles?
Dusty Saddles is focused on the readers. We care about the reader in the middle who wants a good, entertaining story, and we care about connecting our authors with the reader and giving the reader a great experience and the author a great experience. And there's nothing more. There's nothing more than that. It's a good experience on both sides, and it keeps readers coming back, and it keeps authors working. And we want to make sure that we are doing the best we can for both sides for as long as we can possibly do it. I think we'll be able to do it for a long, long time to come. But and I want to continue to keep growing that. It's all about the readers. It's all about the authors.
Yeah. Well, Nick, thank you for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure learning about Dusty Saddles and your own journey and strategy. I want to thank you for helping keep the Western genre alive in this modern world. For those tuning in watching, make sure to check out all the latest releases from Dusty Saddles Publishing and keep an ear out for those upcoming audiobooks. Thank you for watching, folks, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you watching, and I look forward to talking to you again in the future. And I hope you enjoy all the product we're going to be putting out for the rest of this year. 3 Westerns a day, and I appreciate you for inviting me on, Matthew. I've really enjoyed
Sure,
it.
sure. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time.